You want that closer? Or no?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if you're lazy.
It's a little lazy, but yeah, thanks for the help.
All right. We had a great week. I thought we had an average Tuesday practice, a really good Wednesday, and a really good Thursday. Had to wake them up after Tuesday, which was good, and kids responded. And as I told you in the past, I'm just excited about game day to find out what we have, because you really never know with inter-squad scrimmages. And just scrimmages are scrimmages. Playing against somebody that's actually game planning against you and trying to go after a weakness, I think that's when you find out, where you are and what you have. So, questions?
You talked a lot about Sean Watson on Monday. What about their personnel kind of stands out about Wofford?
Yeah, it's hard to it's hard to tell because there's so many guys that it starts with the quarterback, and kind of talked a little bit about him. It's hard to tell. I mean, I think their offensive line is pretty good. I think they got 4 guys that played a lot. Some of them didn't finish the season, so you're not watching a lot of early tape because they're kind of a different offense as the season went on. But I think both their tackles are solid players. And offensive tackles, I'm talking. Quarterback's good. They got guys that make plays on defense. I mean, they're a good football team, and we'll find out. You never know what you're dealing with until you get there. It's not a team that you got a lot of information on. Either way, even defensive, they lost coaches on defense, so we really don't know what they're going to do defensively. So we'll find out and use the first quarter to figure that out and adjust.
Of their 2 quarterbacks, do they kind of play the same way, or do you have to prepare for kind of 2 different guys you might face Saturday?
Well, I mean, we have 21 snaps, I think, of the quarterback that we expect to start. I think 18 or 19 of them are from the COVID year in the spring season. Okay, remember, not spring ball, spring season. That's when they played. So those are what we have to deal with there. And the backup, we believe, is a true freshman. So, we go back and watch Hello tape. He's a good player, but you're watching high school football tape, so that's not a whole lot to go with.
What about their offense is going to test you guys' communication skills as far as just getting off to the right foot this season defensively?
What's the question?
What about their offense is going to test you guys?
Well, I think they do a lot of different things. I think, the first thing is they do a lot of unbalanced formation. So we're going to have to communicate. And I think communication is, critical with all the new guys. And I'll go back, we originally, on the original depth chart, we had some good receivers. Number 4, a kid from Canada, is a really good athlete, number 4. Then they put him in a backup role, and you're like, whoa, I thought that guy's pretty good. All of a sudden, they got better guys in front of them. So I'll throw that out when you talk personnel and who they are. To answer your question, which was?
Just having communication, what you guys are going to have to do against their offense.
We're going to have to do what we normally do, but I was kind of talking about unbalanced. They run some unbalanced formations, which we'll have to do a good job communicating with some of the things they do there. But every formation takes communication. I don't care if it's 2 tight ends and 2 backs or an empty formation. We're going to have to communicate. That's what we do, and we got to be loud communicating. That's one of the keys to victory, really, in my opinion. Offensively and defensively, is communication all day long. Whether it's punt, alert, getting down there, making sure we got our punt team. I mean, all those game day things are critical communication, not only in series, in play, but on the sideline.
How do you feel about your guys, like your safeties and your linebackers, who are key communicators, and how they've done that throughout camp?
Oh, I feel good. I mean, they've done it in practice. But again, when the lights go on at Acrisure Stadium, like that's what you worry about. And again, it better be loud. And I thought, whether it's a signal or whether it's a verbal communication, I feel good with where we are. We're going to find out. Sometimes you get choked up in a game and you can't spit out the right word. I meant to say this, or you said the wrong thing, and then you try to fix it, which is the wrong thing to do. Once you make it, live with it. Don't try to get it the second one. So all those things are things that can happen on game day.
Pat, it sounds like there are a lot of unknowns with this Wofford offense, but
defense.
But is the fact that Sean is the head coach and you've worked with him, does that help in terms of you kind of getting ready to play this team, because there are things you've worked on together as a coaching staff?
Yeah, not really. I mean, offense is offense. I mean, they're going to do different things. I don't think that helps you a bit. I mean, I know who Sean is. I know where his heart is. I know what kind of person he is. But as far as what they're going to try to do, defensively, we went back and looked at some spring scrimmages and fall scrimmages. But again, no one really game plans, like that for a game. So. We don't spend hours trying to say, okay, let's go beat the defense, or it just doesn't happen.
I think it was on one of your radio hits this week, you said this might have been the cleanest training camp you've had, one of the cleanest injury-wise. Is that accurate? And why was that? Is it coincidence, or
I'm not talking about injuries, so
you
you heard on the radio, we're good. I'm not
I'm not talking specific about injuries. But
I don't know why. I have no idea, but it's been a good one.
Is it prepared different? Strength coaches? deserves a
Kids are
raise?
tougher, I don't know, maybe both, I don't know, probably.
You guys have an offensive reputation from last year, just, you could dominate the line of scrimmage, run the ball really well. How much do you balance that with the temptation of like, hey, with the new quarterback and the passing game that you've seen, what's the temptation to show the whole world, like on the first game, like, hey, this is gonna be a major element of our offense too?
I think, first of all, we want to come out and establish a run. So we'll see that, again, it depends on what they're giving us, A year ago when we opened up, shouldn't say opened up, when we played, who did we play last year? 1AA, do we have anybody?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island, we played Rhode Island. I mean, they were playing back deep and it was like, hey, we're gonna run the ball. I mean, until you tighten it down. They wanted us to run the ball. I guess they didn't want the ball to go over their head. So we'll find out how they're playing and decide based on that.
Pat, there are a lot of positions that have some rotational guys, and those rotations are a lot of players who are really going to be seeing their first time on the field as a starter. How do you find a way in a game like this where you're probably trying to get a lot of guys opportunities? How do you find time for everyone to kind of show what they can do in the first game of the year?
Well, I think the first thing is, the guys have earned their opportunity to go out there, and you start off with the base group of guys that have worked for it and have done their job, and then we're going to find out who those other guys are as we go. So it's just something you got to kind of play by ear and get a feel for. You have different packages for different guys to go in there. Hey, he does this well, so let's put him in on these 3 plays. So we'll kind of, game plan it up like that.
Pat, I remember last year with Rodney and Izzy, I think the plan was to split carries. This year, is Rodney more your guy, or do you feel good in Sebo and Daniel and Derek?
We feel good, and it's a great question. It's like for years you guys have seen the 2 or 3 running back, are going. We'll find out who the guy is. Last year we knew who the guy was, right? I mean, he took it over, and we're waiting for someone to take it over. So I think that's, right now it's a committee of guys. We think, Daniel's good, Sebo's good, and of course Rodney. And then we'll find out, where it goes from them. We'll find out, who's durable, who's hitting it, who's hot, and then we'll start to figure that out. Is it hot by game? Is it hot by the year? I don't know. So we'll figure that out as we go, I think, through the season.
Pat, what does your offensive line had to do to keep things smooth after Brian Jacoby went down?
What do they have to do?
Yeah, or have done? What?
Again, it's next man up. But what they have to do is to keep things smooth is to communicate up front. I mean, it's all about communication, and Jason will do a good job in their guard. Again, we'll find out how he reacts on game day, but just communication and making sure they're all together on the same page.
Pat, I remember last week at the kickoff luncheon you mentioned how the Sun Bowl was somewhat of a kickstarter for this season and getting ready for, 23 with the young guys stepping in later in the year with all that young depth. How much of a difference or how much of a growth point has there been from those young guys that were able to step up late last year?
You find out in those games, right? I mean, you find out, I'd hope, from what we've seen in practice, you see growth, whether it's, Sammy O, whoever it is. I mean, a lot of these young guys. So we're going to find out where they are. Kyle Lewis is a long way from where he was a year ago, even though he missed spring ball with an injury. So, I mean, there's a bunch of freshmen that are closer now than they were in the past.
How much do you expect guys like Kenny Johnson and Zion Fowler to contribute on offense, not just Saturday, but this year overall?
It's a great question, Amanda. Expect Kenny Johnson to probably play a lot. I've just kind of seen him, just continue to rise. And then the rest of them we're going to find out. We'll find out on game day and find out where they are mentally. Some are going to make mistakes. We'll have to live with those, but we hope they learn from their mistakes and go. So we'll kind of see how the flow of the game goes and how many reps those guys get. But I can seeing Kenny early, and then find out what we got from there.
How did Kenny separate himself to get in this position this quickly?
You know what? I'd say it's just maturity-wise. I think just like he's really mature. You didn't have a problem with him off the field. He didn't miss this or miss that. He wasn't late for something. And what he did off the field, and then what he did on the field is consistent. And I think when you talk about giving a guy an opportunity and trusting that he's going to not hurt the team and go out there and get it done, it's again another great question. I mean, it comes to trust, and the coach is trusting. Right now, I think there's a lot of trust in Kenny right now to go out there and do it on the field just like he's done in practice. He's been consistent. I mean, he's one of those. We talked a lot about consistency and who can be consistent. That guy's been consistent, from top to bottom, on the field or off the field. So he's been very, very mature, and again, mentally he's strong. I mean, he doesn't make mistakes.
Pat, what's been your gauge on Phil this week? Obviously, it's first game of his final collegiate season, first game with Pitt, hometown. I mean, what has he been any different this week in practice? Have you talked to him about him being excited for this one? Or?
No, you haven't talked about the excitement because I think he's excited. I don't have to, but like Phil, just like this, every day, the same guy. Okay, when you can, those great players are consistent. You don't go, what was he doing today? What was that? What's he looking at? That was a terrible decision. You don't have those conversations with him. So you see consistency every day from Phil Jakovic. So there's, he's going to go play. It's a football game.
Has that talent or has that tone been infectious with the rest of the team, like as far as like staying even keel, spread it to other guys, especially leading up to an opponent that is a smaller school and isn't necessarily on the level that people talk about when they talk about West Virginia and Cincinnati and some of the other teams that you guys are about to face?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's kind of who we are. We got to be consistent, and we've got to go out and play like you're playing Georgia right now, and that's kind of the message we've given. So we'll find out what they do Saturday, 3:30.
Have you noticed a greater trust factor in the quarterback position from players toward the quarterback this year than maybe a year ago?
I think so, but probably if you'd asked me this question last year before the season started, I would say, hey, they trust. But I think you gain trust through playing games. Really. I mean, again, this is just playing in the backyard out here, right? I mean, we're just playing to have fun and get better and try to win a championship. But the real bullets fly on Saturday. I think that's where quarterbacks and everybody gains faith and trust in each other when you go through the battle, the real battle.
Obviously, Frank and Phil have some trust in each other, just Phil being here and Paul and Frank. How important has that relationship been, you think, in establishing your offense this season?
It's been real important because you can install things at a faster pace. He kind of knows it. And obviously we've changed since they were together 2 years ago. As far as what we're doing offensively, they add new terms. You're always going to expand your offense and what you're doing and changing things as well. But he's got a great. I bet you Phil had grasped 80% of it, and some things changed. But that's been huge. I mean, it's like he's already been here for a year, so we're not dealing with a new quarterback. It's almost like he's on his second year, I think. So we'll hopefully see that as we go through the season here.
And what kind of impact do you think the tight end room could have with its diversity? Can you use them in different ways than you have with a group before?
Yeah, I think we can. I mean, we got 4 talented guys in there. 3 bigger guys and maybe a smaller guy in Renda, but he's pretty big too in athletics. So I think there's some different things that we'll be able to do throughout the year. Whether you'll see them all on Saturday or not, I don't know, but we got something for them.
Are you gonna have to dig deeper into the depth chart tomorrow, Saturday, because of the heat and how warm it's gonna be?
Warm, 83 degrees. We'll get you a fan. Maybe not for you. But it's 83 degrees. I mean, it's football weather. It's beautiful out there. So, I hope our guys are in good enough shape that they can handle. But we're going to sub guys as it is anyway. We're going to keep our guys fresh.
Pat, is Shane taking over green dot duties on defense?
Green dog.
Green dot. Excuse me.
Oh, the green dot? The
Yeah.
little green dot, the Sebastian? Yeah, I guess. Now, I've only had one green dot. For everybody to know, that's that communicator, the guy that, in the NFL would be talking to the defensive coordinator. But I would say if we had a green dot and we could put a camera, or a microphone in his helmet, he would be the green dot guy right now, for sure.
Is that coming?
I could. I mean,
Something you like to see in college football?
I don't know. We'd have to change some other rules with it. I think it would help the offense even more, be faster, and I think it would do nothing for the defense. So,
So you'd be against it then?
I'd be against it. All they'd be doing is stealing information from our green, from our green dot. I just don't think that's fair.
Well, with Shane taking over the Mike position, being in the middle where Servassier spent so much time, how much confidence is there in him kind of manning that defense? I mean, I remember Servassier there was talk about how he could sense all the other guys on the field around him. Do you see that similar thing coming from Shane?
Yeah, I think Shane's got a good feel for it. Again, he did it in the UCLA game, as you know. So he started that game at the Mike and did a great job. So he can manage it. He gets it. He's really smart kid. So does he have the Sebastian? I don't know. We'll find that out. I mean, you find out. Didn't know he had it like he does, but he's got a sixth sense, I guess. So he's a little different.
Well, Pat, players obviously excited about the first game. What about you? I mean, you've been through this before, obviously. Do you have a different feeling this year about this team? Are you higher up? Are you kind of even keel? What do you?
staying right in the middle there. I mean, it's another game, it's another year. I'm excited to see what we have, but you know, that's the same thing every year. You don't know what you have, so I'm excited to go watch them tomorrow, and you know, the work is done, and we get to go play, and I think that's what our guys want to do.
Your entire defensive line at a point could be all Western PA kids, Devonshire, Phil, Blake, Cradle. What's the impact of the program to have locals playing key roles on your team?
I think when you talk about recruiting, you're always gonna start in your backyard and try to get the best ones, you know, out of the state of Pennsylvania, out of, you know, Western Pennsylvania. So, it means a lot, and it tells you when you're out there looking and you worry about it. You know, you're like, should we take that guy or not? You lean on taking him. And you look at Kenny Johnson and you know, and guys out there that are having a lot of success in high school. It's good football, and I think last week they went across the border into Ohio, won a couple games as well from the state. So it's good football.
How impressive is it that Bill Bogrove starting his 50th season?
That's impressive. What season are you on?
13.
Think about that, 13. He's on 50. It's impressive. And Billy Hillgrove's a legend, and 50 years, that's pretty darn good. So God bless him, and let's hope we get to 51.
Coach, do you think it's more beneficial for your team to open up against an FCS opponent? Do you more prefer opening up against a rival like West Virginia last season?
It's a great question, because you know, you kind of like both. Someone asked me here this morning, just you know the difference, and you'd like a warm up, but I like the urgency that our team had last fall. But we didn't play our best game last year in the opener. I mean, there were some things we had to clean up the next week. We found out. You'd like to find out this week and be able to be a lot cleaner for Cincinnati. So if if you made me give you an answer, I'd say I'd rather have an easier game, and nothing's easy, than going into a major game against a really good football team in West Virginia.
Anything final? Coach, thank you, and thanks